Well, good evening, everybody. It's Zero, and welcome back to another episode of History Buff Reacts. And today we are taking a look at some old Bulbasaurav. And this one is the bizarre history of cereal. I don't know if this is going to go through like the whole history of cereal or some of the brands. I have absolutely no idea, because I know for a fact that some of the brands have been... What's the word I'm looking for? Have some conspiracy theories, I guess, about them. So, I'm wondering where this is going to go. Yeah. So, enough talking about it. Let's get into it.
Cereal, one of the most popular types of breakfasts in the world, with enough bright colors and flavors to cause an epileptic seizure and enough calories to cause a regular seizure. It's the all-American start to the day, full of sugar, capitalism, and most importantly of all, some of that good old butylated hydroxytoluene, just like Grandma used to make it.
What?
But what are the origins of cereal?
What?
What's actually in the bowl that you pour yourself every day? And the question on everyone's mind, why is a leprechaun trying to sell me marshmallows? Well, I guess we'll find out. Now, like many great inventions in history, like child labor and lung disease, the story of cereal begins all the way back during the Industrial Revolution. Before this, breakfast wasn't really considered to be that important. It was only the rich who had a huge fancy meal in the morning, but the rest of us just kinda ate whenever we felt like it. But then factories started being set up, and with that came schedules. People still had to work hard manual labor with dangerous working conditions, but now they get to do it at 5 in the morning for 16 hours straight. With this, people couldn't eat whenever they wanted to, and instead started doing it in the morning, before they went to work. Well, except the rich people, of course, but they don't really count as people, do they? And thus, the concept of breakfast became mainstream. But it would still take some time for the world to discover the wonders of cereal. Although breakfast was a thing, there weren't many specific breakfast foods, and most people just ate whatever they had with them, which included stuff like bread and cheese. Then the Americans came along and decided that they wanted meat, and lots of it. Bacon, chicken, and other artery-clogging dishes became popular breakfast foods in the 1800s. But while slurping down some sausage first thing in the morning might be tasty, it wasn't exactly doing wonders for your body. Indigestion and other digestive problems were common back then, and combined with the less than stellar living conditions of industrial America, well, you can probably see where the whole Americans are fat stereotype comes from. Clearly something needed to be done about it.
Not going down that road. I ain't going down that road, because I don't want to alienate, like, what, half of my view base? I think half of my view base at the moment is Americans. But, yeah, like, there was never, before this, there was never actually any, there wasn't any sort of breakfast foods, you know. I mean, nowadays we've got hundreds and hundreds of different types, in different nationalities. They eat different things. I know, you know, what we eat here would be different to what people would eat in, say, Pakistan or India, and then they would eat something different to, well, both would eat something different to Japan or China or something like that. Everyone's got their own traditional sort of, traditional, I guess, things they would eat for breakfast, but there was never any consensus on what it would be, and it was basically America that came along and said, well, this works for us. Here you go. Try some of that. See what you like. And yeah, it worked.
And it all started with one man, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg. Yeah, that Kellogg. Yeah, it's the guy. Told you we'll get to cereal. Eventually. Now, my guy Kellogg over here was an interesting guy, to say the least. He was a doctor who was part of a church with a very strict diet. They believed that all your health problems could be solved by going vegan, not smoking, or drinking alcohol, which makes a lot of sense. But these were also the guys that believed that the world was going to end soon and that Christ was going to come back, so let's not give them too much credit here. To solve this, they focused on eating healthy, plain food with no spices or fat, and also, apparently, regularly shooting high-powered streams of water up your ass to clean your digestive system. It was during all of this that our guy...
That escalated very quickly. Much like the water did. That's a dumb joke. Oh, I'm laughing at my own joke. That's terrible form. I shouldn't be laughing at my own joke. Anyway. Yes, enemas. great. Yeah, vegan, no smoking, no alcohol, but you do get enemas. Very important.
Kellogg invented the first cereal. One day, Kellogg was working on his usual meal of tasteless pieces of nothing when he accidentally left some dough outside overnight. When he came back the next morning, it was kind of fermented and moldy, which probably meant that he should have thrown it away, but he wasn't the type to let the risk of fungal infection stop him from achieving his dreams. So he rolled it up and baked it like he normally would, but what he got were thin, crispy flakes that actually tasted pretty good, or at least better than what he was eating before, that's for sure. And so, the first cornflakes were invented. At first, Kellogg only served these cornflakes to his patients, because really, who else would willingly eat them? But then his brother Will got wind of the invention. Then, with some smart marketing, a few recipe changes to make it not taste like crazy Christian hospital food, and a shit ton of money poured into advertising it as healthy, cornflakes managed to become a national success. And by national success, I mean this shit was everywhere. Boxes were flying off the shelves as cornflakes were named the cure for everything from obesity to malaria to masturbation and everything in between. And there was certainly no shortage of advertising money. And
I've heard that. I'm pretty sure that masturbation thing was actually real. Like, it was supposed to apparently stop you from doing it, and I don't know why. But this is back in the day of where am I going with this? Unregulated advertising, I guess. There was no regulations. Just, like, you could say what you wanted, and if it didn't happen, then who are you gonna sue? Well, that's what caused regulations in the first place, actually, now think about it.
And at first, cereal really was the healthy, plain food that its inventor Kellogg intended it to be, with no added sugar or anything unhealthy. But then his brother Will discovered a strong correlation between their products not tasting like horseshit and increased profits. And so, like any good businessman, Will immediately stole his brother's idea, took over his company, and most importantly, added a shit ton of sugar to cornflakes. Plus, when business is booming, there's always going to be competitors, like C.W. Post, who was initially a patient of Dr. Kellogg. He saw the cornflake making process firsthand, and when he realized that people actually unironically ate this shit, he took the business opportunity and made his own cereal company. He made a product called Grape Nuts, which had neither grape nor nuts, but false advertising stopped being a concern once we started saying that pieces of wheat made you less horny. Now, Post had absolutely no qualms about making the cereal healthy, so he was first in line to make his cereal as sugar-filled as possible. So Kellogg's and Post, of course, had no choice but to give their underage customers stage 4 diabetes by constantly one-upping their cereal sugar content, all in the name of capitalism. As cereals became more and more popular, new types started popping up everywhere. Some were just as simple as replacing the corn and cornflakes with wheat, which I'm surprised took people until 1921 to come up with. Some others were a lot more complicated, involving shooting grains of starch through a high-pressure, high-heat gas pipe so they puff up, giving you Rice Krispies, Cheerios, and the many other ways for companies to sell us a box of air without us realizing. And then there was Chex. Now the Chex cereal itself might seem relatively unassuming, because it is, but its origins are a lot more interesting. Chex was invented by a guy who was the leader of an organization, kind of like Kellogg was, but instead of a few crazy Christians, this organization was a lot more like a cult, and also a lot more racist. This organization had around 800,000 followers, and it believed in a movement called Ralstonism. They were set out to make a new race of people, free from all impurities, and they wanted to castrate anyone who wasn't white as soon as they were born. They had very strict rules about how their members should live, controlling everything from their diet to their breathing to their exercise to their sexual magnetism. The Chex cereal was invented in this cult to fit into this strict diet, amongst all the other supposedly healthy cereal coming up back then. Apparently, if you followed all these rules, you would get some sick mind control powers, but that would also mean having to actually consume Chex regularly, so it's a pretty hard bargain. Eventually, the Chex making process split up from the cult and joined up with the rest of the cereal companies. Probably because being associated with a racist, castrating group that thought watermelons were poisonous to white people wasn't doing wonders for their brand image.
Sorry, what? So I've never heard of that group before, but they sound interesting. So, that watermelon one took me by surprise. Wasn't expecting that. Oh, I love Bulbasaurav, I really do. Oh. Yeah, never heard of that movement before. Definitely an interesting one, but I suppose for the times, would have been a bit. No, it still would have been a bit weird, I think, but still a bit extreme. But it definitely would have been a little bit more Where am I going with this? Appealing. Might seem a bit more appealing for the time. Obviously nowadays, no. But for the time, it gives me shudders. But yeah, no. Watermelon isn't poisonous to white people. I don't know where the hell that comes from.
But throughout all this, none of these companies ever stopped advertising their cereals as healthy. All the new money that was rolling in went right back into their marketing budget. Because how else were you going to convince people that eating candy for breakfast was healthy? Cereal was claimed to have all sorts of vitamins and minerals. And once these companies realized that exploiting children was profitable, it was free money for all of them. The thing about children is that A, they are human noise machines, and B, they are very gullible. So all you had to do was make the box colorful and slap on a cartoon mascot, and soon you'll have hordes of annoying children doing the advertising for you. Most people also have very strong habits and associations when it comes to breakfast. So if you make the box recognizable and get someone hooked on your cereal when they were young, well, you've got yourself a lifetime customer. But these methods don't even come close to the cereal company's most famous and prevalent ad campaign. You ever wonder how breakfast became such a big deal? I mean, you can skip lunch and dinner all you want, but as soon as you skip breakfast, you instantly get bombarded with people telling you how you're missing out on the most important meal of the day. Well, the person you have to thank for that is none other than our boy Dr. John Harvey Kellogg. When he invented cornflakes, he didn't just want people to buy his product, he wanted to change the way that society ate food as a whole. Sounds pretty ambitious, but it's nothing some smart marketing and a few $100 million can't solve.
True.
All of his early ad campaigns focused on making people believe that breakfast was the most important thing in your life. They talked about how eating breakfast made you healthier, gave you more energy, and made you more efficient. And for a population that suffered from a whole range of digestive problems, who now had to focus on working as hard as possible in factories, and who didn't have time to make food every morning, this sounded like a pretty good deal. And as cereal companies got bigger and bigger, and more variety started appearing, this idea spread further and further, leading to more profits, which meant more advertising, which meant more profits, and oh god oh fuck, we've got an oligopoly. This code continued well into the 20th century, especially after World War II. This is when the baby boom happened, and the world's population increased drastically, which meant that the cereal companies had a whole new horde of children to sell their products to. And with the rise of inventions like the radio and televisions, you can bet your ass that the cereal companies plastered their ads all over them. Plus, sugar got a lot cheaper after the war, so you know the companies poured as much as they could afford into their products. They also started adding little toys and prizes into the cereal boxes, because you give a kid something to play with and he instantly forgets about its crippling diabetes. This helped cereal become even more popular than it already was, reaching the mouths and clogging the arteries of 280 million people in 2020. But as the years passed and people learned more about the things they ate, cereal started to lose their healthy shine. People started to realize that eating a bowl full of sugar-encrusted marshmallow-filled carbohydrates every day may not be as all-natural and healthy as they thought it was. That didn't stop them from eating it, of course, and by them, I mean me. But at least now, some of them know that cereal wasn't a magical substance that could solve all your health problems.
Yeah.
Cereal companies also responded by immediately capitalizing on this, by adding vitamins, minerals, and fiber to some of their cereals. Some of them also made special cereal varieties that were supposedly healthier. But at the end of the day, most of the cereals you find in the supermarket are still the same sugar-filled borderline candy that they always were. So moral of the story is, when anthropomorphic tigers and these three little shits try to sell you breakfast food, it's probably not going to be the best for you. So don't buy. Or do, really. I'm not your dad. I mean, I got a half-empty box of knockoff Fruit Loops with me right now, so I'm not really in a position to judge here. Anyway, that was the weird and wild history of cereal. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment, and check out another video by clicking right here. I'll see you guys later.
Ah, I love this. I love Bulbasaurav because he's funny and things escalate on his videos way faster than you think they will. Like way faster. He's so good. I'm interested in that video straight away. I might not be able to say because I might be blocking it, but it says British Army that drunk itself to death. That might be next week's Bulbasaurav video. Maybe. Definitely gonna have to think about that one. But never go wrong with a bit of Bulbasaurav. And it seems to be uploading again. And his mic seems a bit clearer as well, which always helps. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed it. Because I definitely did. Love this stuff.